Welcome, friends, to another edition of Wolff Responds. This one is about tariffs, and I call it Tariffs Bite Back. And I call it that because the tariffs are producing all kinds of consequences that ought to worry us, and very few to confirm the promises Mr. Trump made when he began his program. I can see why Mr. Trump likes the tariffs. He apparently does not need the Congress to agree, even though clearly that was the intent of the separation of powers when the Constitution gave the Congress the monetary purse holding. He can apparently impose them at will, and he does it, changing from day to day, from hour to hour. Everybody is complaining around the world, American businesses and foreign businesses alike, about this quote unquote volatility. No business can make plans not knowing what in the world the market situation is going to be. Will the people who normally buy the product be able to do so? Or will there be a tariff attached to it by Mr. Trump that will dissuade people from buying it? And what do you do in that situation? Many businesses are holding back on decisions about how to invest money. And when they do that, when they don't invest, then they're not engaged in activities that include paying taxes. So the money coming into the government from a tariff that is paid has to have subtracted from it the taxes that aren't being paid because people affected by tariffs are holding back from their normal and previous economic activities. The Yale Economics Lab estimates that the tariffs in their first 6 months, that's how long we've had Mr. Trump's government, brought in maybe $50 billion. And from that, you would have to subtract whatever businesses are going out of business because of the tariffs. And I'm going to give you some examples. Whatever businesses are doing less business and therefore paying fewer taxes than they used to, all of those are subtractions from the extra 50 that the tariffs bring in. So the net effect of the tariffs now is in the 20 to 30 billion, maybe a bit more. And I can assure you, in a government budget that is counted in the trillions, 20, 30, 40 billion is a small potato and will not change the fact that the United States is the biggest debtor country in the world, whose debts are now rising significantly faster than the GDP, the productivity of the economy as a whole, which has been and is a warning sign. It turns out, in ways I'm about to take you through, that tariffs can bite back whoever it is that tries to impose them on the rest of the world. So here we go. Let's take a look. One of the countries subjected to the highest tariffs has been China. China used to be a major exporter of goods and services, particularly goods, to the United States. The tariffs mean that an American, business or individual, who buys a commodity produced in China has to pay whatever the price of that commodity is, and then on top of it, pay the tariff. And as I have explained many times, the tariff is a tax imposed by Mr. Trump and paid by the American company that brings foreign-made products into the United States to conduct its business. For example, a huge amount of what you can buy at Walmart or through Amazon or at Target or any other store comes from China. So now the American company, Target, Walmart, Amazon, has to pay China to get the product and then pay Uncle Sam whatever the tariff is on top of it. Well, here's the truth. Yale Lab shows, as other documents do, that foreigners are not lowering their prices because Americans have to pay more, having to pay this tariff tax to Uncle Sam. Mr. Trump may have hoped for that. Maybe that's why he kept saying in words that were funny because they were wrong, that tariffs are somehow paid by them, that the tariff is a burden on China. No, China doesn't pay the tariffs against China. Americans do. And when Americans do, you might hope that the foreign country, knowing that Americans have to pay more because the tariff is there, will lower their price and therefore, in a way, pick up the cost of the tariff. But they're not doing that. We can already see after 6 months of hefty tariff impositions that there is little or no sign that foreign producers of goods coming here are lowering their prices. And you know what that means? It means that the higher price, because American companies are paying tariffs, are either going to eat into the profits of those companies, or they're going to pass on the tax they now have to pay, that tariff, to the rest of us, to consumers, and we have to pay. So, for example, in recent days, a lot of publicity attached to Mr. Trump's putting an enormous 50% tariff on Brazil, the largest country in Latin America, a very important country in the whole world economy, and a country that happens to be the largest single source of coffee coming into the United States. That means that the companies bringing coffee from Brazil into the United States are now going to have to pay whatever it costs per pound of that coffee to get it from Brazil shipped to an American port. And then the company has to pay Uncle Sam 50% of that in addition to get that coffee into the company's hands. And you know what that means? In the second half of this year, you're going to see hefty increases in the price of your coffee, whether you buy it by the pound or you pick up a latte at the coffee shop. We're all going to pay more. Wow. And you know what that means? We're going to economize on other things. We're going to have to, or else we're going to have to do without the coffee shop experience or without the coffee altogether. And that means large numbers of coffee shops are going to suffer a loss of business. For many of them, since the profit margin is thin in a coffee shop, they're going to go out of business, which means they'll pay fewer taxes. And when they lay off workers, those laid off workers will be paying lower taxes because their income is. Those are all subtractions from whatever money the government gets from the tariff on Brazil. It comes out of you, it comes out of me, and it bites back. Let me give you a more important example. Over recent years and months, the price of ice cream has gone way up. Here we are in the middle of summer. People normally eat ice cream. It's becoming more expensive. It rose, for example, over the last year by several times the rate of inflation of average goods and services. Ice cream, like coffee, is becoming expensive. And so people are economizing on it. Now, even more important example, the war in Ukraine has pit the United States mostly against Russia. The United States tried to get the European countries to be allied in this war against Russia. And the Russians, for their part, tried to get an alliance going with China, India, and that group of countries, that growing group of countries known as the BRICS. Russia has been helped in building a powerful alliance by Mr. Trump's tariffs. Why? Because the countries that are hurt because the goods they want to send to America are costing more because the US government taxes them, that's what the tariffs do, are making the logical business decision. Send fewer goods to the United States. Send your products to other countries that don't have a tariff, that do not have a Mr. Trump raising tariffs all the time, have nothing like it. The vast majority of countries in the world are not doing what Mr. Trump is doing. In fact, none of them, not a one, is doing it. So countries are upset with what the United States is doing, trying to improve its own economy at the expense of everybody else. Oh, you can call it Make America Number One, but the rest of the world understands it as a hostile economic hurt imposed on them. And they don't like it, and they don't want it. And one of the ways to deal with it is to sell your products somewhere else. And so they are working with one another. That's why BRICS is increasing its power, its size, and its economic clout. In sharp contrast, because Mr. Trump has imposed tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and the Europeans, the alliance of the United States used to be called the Group of Seven, the G7, United States, Canada, Japan, Britain, France, Italy, and Germany, are at each other's throats, heaving tariffs against one another. The Europeans responding angrily to Mr. Trump. The Canadians responding angrily to Mr. Trump. The Mexicans responding angrily to Mr. Trump. Do you think it's smart in a world where a whole nother economic power competitor has arisen, the People's Republic of China? Do you really want to impose tariffs that destroy the alliances you need to depend on? Wow. That's an example of the tariffs biting back. Let me conclude by explaining the United States' empire, as we have been charting, is declining. And with it, the U.S. economy, which depends on that empire in a lot more ways than most Americans are willing to admit. Imposing tariffs may feel good, may work a nice story under the slogan America First, but it is producing consequences that make the United States weaker, not stronger. that question the dollar more, not less, that bring our enemies, nationally speaking, to be stronger and our allies weaker, at least those that are counted enemies and counted allies by those who lead the United States. Tariffs are a really bad idea, and whatever benefit politically Mr. Trump can get by brandishing them around as the hot new weapon to dump on the world every day, the reaction to it, the hostility and bitterness and anger it is driving the world to feel, is a very dangerous way of trying to solve an economy's problems. We can and we should do much better. If interventions like this around the topic of tariffs or economic policy in general seem to you to be useful, please share this video with others. That's why we make them. People who might be interested, who've thought about it, who are affected, as we all are, more or less, sooner or later, by all these tariffs. Then you will have justified the work we do to produce these videos. And of course, it costs money to do all of this. And if you're of a mind to help, your donations would be enormously appreciated. Thank you.